Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the GN Sports Show. And we'd like to just welcome our listening, viewing audiences and also those who are joining us on Facebook. Ricky, another show, another GN Sports Show. Welcome.
Another packed agenda.
Very much so. As usual, we're going to feature a couple of players from our academy this time, from our female team. It's a new program we just started. We're also going to have Mr. Anthony Camacho from the Oklahoma Wesleyan University. Football profile 268, Mr. Astel Joseph as usual. And we'll wrap things up with our sports, health and wellness section with Dr. Millis from the American University of Antigua. Another packed show, Ricky. And also our youth league started last week, so we're going to have some updates, some scores, some highlights even. You're going to notice throughout the evening that we should have some scores scrolling at the bottom of your screen. So new things happening, different things on the GN Sports Show, trying to keep everybody informed. But before we start, usual Ricky, sponsors, yes, so we can give our wonderful people their mileage.
Yeah, you just said, we just admitted one little thing is that from a parent's perspective, we have Roberta Byron, who's going to be
so we can have a quick talk with Roberta as well.
Quick talk, yes.
Excellent, excellent stuff.
And of course, as you can see behind us with these lovely banners, we're featuring our sponsors for the club, Generation Next. Of course, we have North Coast Hardware available. They have two locations, one on the Village Walk off Price Hill Road, and of course the Blue Waters Main Road. So for all your hardware supplies, check out North Coast Hardware. Our gold sponsor, Frank Wall Limited, the Candy Man. So all those lovely M&M products you see around the places and other confectionery, Frank Wall Limited is responsible for that, to support that. Our silver sponsors, Kenneth A. Gomez and Sons, located in the Royal Court, just off of Fries Hill Road, for all your insurance needs, whether it's house insurance, car insurance, check out Kenneth A. Gomez and Sons. Our other silver sponsor, Island Photo, also in the Royal Palm Court, for all your photography needs. Alan Flack and his lovely staff will take care of your every need for photography. And we'd also like to thank our bronze sponsor, Beach Limers, for lovely fine dining right on the waterfront at Fort James. Beach Limers is the place to go. Our football sponsor, or what we call our ball sponsor, Excel Engineering. For all your generator needs, check out Excel Engineering just off of the Fries Hill Road. We'd also like to thank our shipping sponsor, Antigua Cargo. John Andrew and his lovely staff will take care of all your shipping needs, no matter how big or small it is. And of course, our brokerage sponsor, we'd like to thank Francis Trading Agencies, located in High Street. And then without all of those sponsors, Generation Next, nor any of its derivatives, like the GN Sports Show, would not be where we are today. So those sponsors, we ask you and urge you to support them, because they support what we are trying to do in the development of the young footballers here in Antigua and Barbuda. And of course, though, we have to talk about the 5th annual Gomez Netherlands Insurance Youth Football League, which just kicked off on Saturday. And
last weekend.
We should have scrolling at the bottom of the screen very shortly, outlining the scores, because there's so many matches, Zico. We can't give all. We'll take up the whole show just giving the scores.
We would need another show to give the scores from all of those games. But speaking about the GN Youth League, joining us in the studio, two young ladies from our newly started female program, and that's another one of the plans that we had that has come to fruition in terms of Generation Next and its evolution as a club, is having a women's program or a female program. And joining us in the studio, we'd like to welcome Ms. Sasha Corbette and Salonge Wynter. Welcome, ladies, to the GN Sports Show, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's start with you, Sasha. First of all, I should actually mention Sasha is the sister of Christian Corbette, who is a former national under 17 and under 20 player. And he's also currently with the professional side, Mansfield United Academy under 21. And needless to say, he's a Generation Next Hall of Fame
So we're
footballer.
So Sasha,
Sasha have some big shoes to fit. So anyway, welcome Sasha. And tell us, was it because of Chris that you started playing football?
Yes, I saw that he was really liking it and enjoying it, and he sort of inspired me to start doing football.
Excellent stuff.
And Salonge, why did you start playing football?
Because at my old school at Baptist, the main sport was football. I used to play basketball, but then nobody would play basketball, so I just turned football.
Yes, and these two are making history. They're the first players to join the Generation X football girls program. So we're very pleased at that. But we always wanted to do it, but we never wanted to start it until we knew the girls could play competitively with other teams.
And not just playing competitively, we needed to develop an interest.
Yeah.
As far as the females go, because that's one of the areas where as many female players as we may have, was to have that structured so they would actually join an academy or join a team so we could have that program going full time.
And of course, the other incentive is they just concluded in November at University Combine, where 7 young females have been offered scholarships at William Penn University. And right now they're going through the application process. Anyway, Sasha, what school do you attend?
I attend St. Anthony's Secondary School.
And what class are you in?
I'm in Form 1.
First form. So, and do you have a favorite subject?
I think I like art.
Art? That's a first.
Yeah, that's
a first.
like
That's
that.
very good.
I like
That's
that.
very good. Very good. So you say she loves art. So you're good. You can draw well then.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, okay.
But art is a little bit more than just drawing. There's painting, there's graphic designing, so
Yeah.
there are many different facets, but that's nice. How about you, Salonge? What's your favorite subject?
PE probably.
And what school do you attend?
St. Anthony Secondary,
And what class are you in?
3rd form.
Third form. So she's a little older. Yeah.
Salonge likes physical education. I'm a physical education teacher, so I'm kind of biased. Excellent stuff. High five, Salonge. Excellent. I like that.
And now let's talk about the league. And that you had your first match on Saturday, and it was a blowout. You scored 5 goals to 0. How did you feel about that match at Salonge?
It was good for the team, but like I went late, so I didn't get no game. So
You didn't get to play.
Salonge was a little bit late, but the thing is, you don't have a game this weekend, so you'll have to wait until next week. But I'm pretty sure you'll get in, and you'll have a lot of fun. How about you, Sasha? How was the game for you on the weekend?
Sasha was absent from that game.
So
But I'm very proud of my team.
excellent stuff. So we look forward to seeing you girls in a couple of weeks, and you get your time, and we'll have good things to say, and Chris will be proud of you.
And do you have any ambitions I know it's still early in your life, but do you have any ambitions as to what you want to do when you graduate from school? You haven't
No.
decided yet?
No.
Salonge, how about you?
I'm going to Cuba after school to be a doctor.
Oh my, that's wonderful, Salonge. So as I'm progressing in age, I'll have a doctor to take care of me.
I must say, Salonge is a lot braver than I am, as far as the amount of time she's going to have to be spending in school.
Yeah. Well, when she comes back and graduates, maybe she can take over from Dr. Rick as the resident doctor for the GN Sports Show.
Maybe even be the resident doctor for Generation X Football Club. Who knows?
Yes, who knows? Yeah,
Hopefully by then we would have expanded a little bit. But excellent stuff, excellent choice in career, Salonge, and we wish you all the best, because it's important for us, and we stress on the GN Sports Show, the balance between education and sports, and so that's an excellent choice in the career. And at some point,
and with
Sasha will choose a career as well.
Yes, and we'd like you to keep on not only training hard in your football career, because as was evident as I just spoke about, there are scholarship opportunities. So maybe necessarily, Salonge, you may be offered a scholarship in football to the States. You never know, and you might rethink Cuba. Not saying Cuba is not the place to go, but if that's your desire, then you should go there.
Excellent.
So, well, we're just coming to the end of this session. Sasha, you'd like to give any shout outs to anybody?
I would like to give out a shout out to all my friends and my brother, who it's his birthday today, and my mom, my dad.
What's your mom and dad name?
Michelle and Sheldon.
Corbette, yes. And your grandmother?
Florence Ati.
And that's it? Nobody else? Okay.
Yeah, Sasha doesn't want to run herself into problems. Notice at the start she said, all my friends.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff, Sasha. How about you, Salonge? Any shout outs?
Yeah, to my mommy and daddy. They take me and bring me from practice.
And what are their names?
Tommy, Martin, Hallie, Wynter.
Excellent. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. And like we said, we look forward to seeing you on the field in a couple of weeks. I know Coach Ken is putting you guys through your paces, and I'm pretty sure he's going to do a good job and hopefully follow up on his first win. So again, that was Sasha Corbette and Salonge Wynter, our first two players who would have joined our female program at the Generation Next Football Club, and we'd just like to thank them again for joining us. While we're talking about the Youth Football League, I think now would be a good time for us to do a recap of some of the scores. I know our viewing audience would have seen the scroll, the crawl ad at the bottom, but Ricky's just going to give you a quick rundown of what would have taken place last weekend, a few scores, and also quite possibly, I think we could do the top three from each division, Ricky?
Yeah, we can do the top three from each
Excellent
division.
stuff.
So, in the female division, we had two matches. Oh no, I have the wrong. I have this week's matches here. My apologies. Let's try again.
Jumping ahead there, Ricky.
Let's try again. On Saturday, GNFC Rebels defeated Willikies 5-0. That's in the female division. And Cutting Edge A defeated Trendsetters 3-0.
Excellent stuff from our ladies.
In the under sevens, just give the two. GNFC Rebels lost the Roberta Blackhawks 0-1, and Earthquakes and Roberta Blackhawks drew 2-2. In the under nines, I said we just give the top two. The Generation X A team lost the Roberta Blackhawks 2-0. Wings defeated Cutting Edge 3-0. In the under 11, Generation X lost the Five Islands 2-0. Roberta Blackhawks defeated Willikies 6-1.
Roberta scoring a lot of goals, Ricky.
Yes, Roberta, it's heavily improved. You have to get the, oh, it's on the screen there too.
Yeah.
Oh, so we do.
So we can move to the under 13s.
Yes, we go to the under 13s. The Generation X 4, Mahaiko 2, Willikies 0, Cutting Edge 0. Earthquakes 3, Wings 0. We go to the under 15s, and one of the scores were revised due to an overage incident. So even though the score reflected 0-1 to Mahaiko, it's been reversed 3-0 to GNFC Rebels. And New Evolution defeated Young Warriors 3-0.
I think that was like a no-show.
Yeah, it
Young
was a
Warriors.
no-show. And there you see the standings.
So in the female division, you got GNFC Rebels with 3 points, Cutting Edge FCA also on 3 points. And those are the top two for the female division. Other games, the female division will play periodically.
And as I said, this is the first week. So, you know, of course, the standings, even though it's nice to see whichever team is on the top, but then it will.
Yeah, you definitely got to stay tuned because it's going to change weekly and it will sort itself out. So we can move on to the under sevens.
Okay, it's right.
Roberta Blackhawks in first place with 4 points, followed by Earthquakes FC in second place, and they got a point. And in the under nines.
In the under nines, Five Islands is leading that. Roberta is in second place
on 3 points. Wings FC on 3 points in third place.
If we're going to the under.
What do we have for the 11s?
For the 11s, Roberta Blackhawks is in 3 points. Earthquakes, and Generation Next. Actually, the four-way tie, so we have to give four.
Yes.
Liberty Blackhawks, Earthquakes, Generation Next, and Five Islands all tied for first with 3 points.
And
But Roberta's at the top with the goal difference.
Yeah, those four places are separated by goal difference. The under 13s?
Yeah, the under 13s, Earthquakes is leading that with 3 points, actually tied with Generation Next, but a goal difference once again. And
Willikies.
And Cutting Edge is in third place. And Willikies is in fourth.
Yeah, on the 15 division, you have New Evolution FC in first place. As we said earlier, there's a revision in terms of the scores between Generation Next and Mahiko, so actually that should read Generation Next FC in second place.
In first place, actually.
Well, in first place because of goal difference, and New Evolution would be in second place, and we'll have that adjustment. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was a recap from the first week of matches, first round of matches in the GNFC Youth Football League, which is in its 5th year. And like we said, the action is going to be continuous. It's going to be every Saturday. Check it out at the National Technical Training Center. That's at Painters. It's a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. We have divisions from the U7s all the way up to the U15s, including a female division as well. So it's a complete day of football. So whenever you get a chance, you can stop in, see some fantastic players in action. And that's the next generation of players that we're going to have. And you'll get a good look of the future. And I must say, from my vantage point, it's really exciting for me on the weekend.
And just before we go, I'd like to thank the sponsors for the league. Of course, just to correct you, the title of the league is the Gomez Netherlands Insurance Youth Football League. I
definitely stand
And of
corrected.
course, as the title suggests, the title sponsor is Kenneth A. Gomez and Sons and Netherlands Insurance, which are joint companies, really. We'd also like to thank A.S. Bride and Sons, and in particular Milo and his Milo brand. Both of these companies have been with us from the inception and have stayed with us. So we're very appreciative to that fact. Antigua Masonry Products is on board. And we also have Oasis Water. So those are our sponsors for the league. And we'd like to express our deep appreciation for them with staying with us, because all of them have been with us from the
very start. And that's excellent, because we really appreciate the sponsorship, because that keeps the league alive and going. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Mr. Anthony Camacho, who is a former student athlete at the Oklahoma Wesleyan University. He's also a Hall of Famer at the Oklahoma Wesleyan University. And just before we go, we're going to do a quick recap of the games on the weekend. What games?
No, I think we just did the recap of the games, Zico, but...
So we could definitely go to that commercial break, and then we come back. We're going to have a quick chat with Mr. Anthony Camacho. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with more from the GN Sports Show shortly.
Here it is! In case of an earthquake, and the place not shaking. Drop, cover, and hold on. Drop, cover, and hold on. In case of an earthquake,
there's a few tips that can keep you from harm. In case of an earthquake, you gotta stay calm. Move away from doors, windows, and things that can fall. Try not to use steps or elevators at all.
drop, protect your head and your face. Don't go running all over the place. Cover, under a bed or a table, against the wall that's firm and stable.
Hold on,
you must hold on, don't panic, stay calm.
Don't move until the shaking stops.
Here it is.
Drop, cover, and hold on.
Drop, cover, and hold on. In case of an earthquake.
Drop, cover, and hold on.
Learn how to protect yourself during an earthquake. Log on to weready.org. That's weready.org for more information.
Make sure you arrive at the right destination each morning. Get on the gospel train with Lance and Kenneth. Great music and inspiration and lots of positive energy. Tune in every weekday morning from 5 to 6 a.m. only on ABS Radio and TV, The Gospel Train.
Women, get to know your bodies. Every day, we all become exposed to different viruses and diseases. One of these viruses is the human papillomavirus, or HPV. HPV infection can cause cervical cancer and warts. Cervical cancer is preventable. Get tested by your doctor or at your health center and ask about the HPV vaccine. Join the fight against cervical cancer. Together we can beat it. This is a message by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment of Antigua and Barbuda and its health partners.
When it comes to your health, there are many options, but which do you choose? Your choice is going to be determined largely by your view on what being healthy really is. We at AUA place a high degree of importance on health and education, so we've created this program to provide you with solid information that would facilitate your decisions regarding your health. Join us for AUA's Healthy Perspectives, hosted by Vernon Solomon of the American University of Antigua.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GN Sports Show. And as promised, joining us in the studio now is Mr. Anthony Camacho, who is a Hall of Fame footballer at the Oklahoma Wesleyan University, obviously in Oklahoma. And we'd like to welcome Mr. Camacho. Thank you for joining us on the GN Sports Show, and welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So, Anthony, just give us generally, for our viewing and listening audience who may not be familiar with who you are, just give us some feedback in terms of your connection to Antigua, teams that you would have represented, and what is it that you're actually doing in Antigua at the very moment?
Well, my career started in Point and Judge Bay, pretty much. By the way, nobody know me as Anthony Camacho on the island. Everybody called me Angeline. You know, that will ring a bell.
That would definitely ring a bell with most footballers, yes. Most footballers in Antigua.
Yeah. So, you know, and it started with Villa School. That's where I attended when I was a little boy. And then I went to Pilgrim High School. That's where I do my adult education before I head off to college. And I start with West Ham football. They're in the second division right now. And I've always played for West Ham. I had a small stint with Villa in some of the Grace Green community leagues back then. Then I earned a scholarship to go off to was Bardesville Wesleyan at the time.
They were pretty good at that time.
Right, because they have us, right?
Yes, I would have heard quite a few stories about Bardesville. It's now Oklahoma Wesleyan. I think that's the same school that Sobe would have gone to.
Right.
Bata would have gone to. Gary.
Yeah, and there was a lot of other people from Antigua who attended there. Walter, Clifford, and Chester Jarvis, and Bato, Everton Gonzalez. So we had a rich tradition there.
So it's no secret that Bardesville was pretty much a dominant
force to be reckoned
with in the NAI school.
Yes.
I would be more familiar with it because I would have done a couple of years at John Brown.
Right.
You know, we would have played a couple of games. They weren't very good at that point, but that would be probably because they didn't have much Antiguans then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they were struggling when we get there. Bato and Clifford and Chester, obviously Walter, those are the four original ones that we had there. And they carry the team to some extent. But with the influx of other Antiguans like myself, Ickford Roberts, Daryl Michaels, St. Clair George, Sobe, John Quinn, those were my teammates.
That is quite an impressive list.
Absolutely. And we had a couple of guys from Mexico as well. I know another fellow from Venezuela. And when you look at our starting lineup, we would be a dominant force. The unfortunate things, in my first 3 years, we had 3 different coaches. So in my last year there, we settled down a little bit and we had some stability. We had a gentleman named by Dan Wood. He took over the coaching reign, and we went on to nationals actually that year. So it was a little struggle and instability in terms of the coaching. But I think I finished off my career there quite well.
And what are you doing now? Are you still in the sporting arena? Or?
Well, I'm a former national player.
Right.
Before I left, I was playing for Antigua national team. After I finished university, I was playing for a team called Omaha Kawulas in the Heartland Soccer League in the Midwest. And I played there for a few years while I was working as a financial analyst for First National Bank of Omaha. I didn't really like that job, but so I decided to continue my soccer. So I had a little tryout in England at Watford. That didn't pan out, so I migrated to Canada to play in the Canadian Professional Soccer League. And once I started there, my career took off to some extent. I started my own soccer club there, Forest United Soccer Club. Coached the Fanta College there for 9 years, and here I am. So I'm back here. I actually came for a golf tournament, but every time I come home, I always help out the kids around.
That's excellent.
Right,
Yeah.
coaching. So what I did, I put on a 2-week camp for Keegan for the Earthquake soccer program over there. Since I've gotten here, I got off the plane Sunday night. I was at the field Monday at 5 o'clock.
So we have to attribute the dominance, the massive change in Keegan's team to you then, because Keegan's team. I spoke to him on Saturday. I said, Keegan, your team is playing extremely improved football from last year.
Yeah.
So maybe you had a part to play with that too.
Yeah.
I mean, not taking anything away from Keegan, because Keegan is a very dedicated coach, and he's out there 5 days a week, 6 days a week with the kids. Coaching them and so forth. So I'm not taking anything away from him because his efforts are paramount. But he did well on Saturday with all of his teams in each division.
Well, he have a good group. A couple of years ago, I sat down with Keegan. He asked me to be part of the Earthquake, so he put me as part of his his board of directors, and I see the potential. But Keegan needs help.
Yes.
He's one person, and he's trying to do everything. So
with quite a large group of players, it's always difficult.
Right. So what I try to do is to work behind the scene. I really don't like this. Rather somebody talk about my accomplishment than I talk about it. But I wanted to help Keegan because I see the effort that he put forth and the kind of group that he have. And he can't do it. We have another gentleman, so we're going to build that
I'm glad to hear
association up, and then we're going to be working with him closely whenever I am here and provide whatever resources they need to help those kids. So I don't know if you see they have new uniforms.
I saw that.
And new balls.
Yes, I saw all of that.
What I was actually impressed with, we actually stopped by during the week. I think it was on Monday.
Yes.
And even the practice session was uniformed.
Right.
And it may seem simple, but it's one of the ways that football has to be developed locally. Absolutely. Because I've seen too many, and I've trained and coached too many teams where simple things like that.
It's part of discipline.
Yes. Not just so much, not only discipline, but I firmly believe if our youngsters feel good about themselves, then the performance is going to be different.
Absolutely. They make you feel like a team.
Yeah.
Right.
When you have players coming dressing in different attire, you don't really look like a team.
It looks like a pickup game. It looks like a couple of guys that were walking down the street and decided to join your training session.
Absolutely. So that's was one of my first observations when I visited the field. So I wanted to change that. So I decided to help him in that capacity.
Right.
And I provide a lot of the training. I give him a whole handbook now of a lot of my training that I do up in Canada. I even get some of the Ontario Soccer Association information so he can have and provide the proper training from a technical standpoint to his players.
And you mentioned that you have a football club in Canada. Where is it located, and is it a youth football club?
Yeah, my club used to be from, we started 6 all the way up to men's and women's. Now expanded to work with we call St. Thomas Soccer Club. It's the London area, St. Thomas area. It's in Ontario.
Right.
We fall on the Ontario Soccer Association banner, so to speak, governed by the Canadian Soccer Association. Yeah. So we have the St. Thomas Club has you could look at maybe about almost 2,000 kids alone in that organization. I'm just talking about youth players. I'm not talking about the adults.
Not adults.
Not the adults, just
Do you plan to bring?
yeah, because they have house league and they have the competitive level. So sometimes it ranges between 1,000 to 2,000 players.
Do you plan to at some stage to bring one or two of your youth teams here to play?
Well, it's funny that you said that because I did that before. There used to be a little tournament that we used to do over the March break that used to call the Angeline March break tournament when I was helping with the Villa Soccer Academy under the tutelage of Lutherly. Again, I used to bring resources to help provide for that, and I used to bring teams to play in that tournament that we used to have. So I would think about on the 16 boys teams, and we generated some teams from around the different villages, and we had a nice little tournament at the time.
Okay, because the reason why I'm asking is that we're planning in late June to have a youth under 13 tournament here in Antigua,
right,
where we'll have 3 or 4 Antiguan teams here, and we invite teams from the other Caribbean islands, and Canada, of course, can come down and join in.
And now throw the idea out to the under 13 coach. I mean, I can suggest it because I want to bring people here.
Right.
It circulate the economy, so to speak. By
That's right.
spending
Sports
money.
tourism.
Right, and they will enjoy the beautiful country that we have to offer. And play some good soccer. Right?
Right, exactly.
But again, you're asking me now, and June, these things take planning.
Yeah.
So I can't promise anything at this moment.
That's fine.
But I certainly will mention it. I think it's a great idea, just like I did with the golf, because Steve and I work collaboratively to bring a team here, and because he did a great job putting the whole thing together. And the people that came down with me had a great time. And they're already planning their trip for next year again. So, and this is what we want, right? To continue
and that's excellent. I must say that I'm absolutely impressed. And I think for those of us who would have gone off to university, it's imperative, and I keep saying this, it's ultimately important that for those of us who've seen football at a different level, to be willing to come back home and to invest our time and our energy and our expertise in development of our youngsters, because at the end of the day, it's important that we pass on that knowledge. And I must say kudos to you and encourage you to keep putting in the work, because at the end of the day, it's only going to benefit our players as they improve.
How much longer are you going to be in Antigua?
I only have a few more days. I've been here for a couple of weeks now. And I really haven't had any time for myself between the golf and the camp that I've been running.
Are you going to be here on Saturday?
I'll be here on Saturday.
So I hope you come up and view some of the football taking place.
Sure.
With Keegan and his team, and you can.
Well, I was supposed to come last Saturday, but I was playing in the golf tournament.
How did you do in that, by the way?
Well, Antigua beat Canada. Let's put it that way. I went one-on-one.
So who did you play? Who did you play for? As your duel.
I win. Because I can't lose, because I'm
Antigua. Exactly.
Either way.
So, but it was a fun event, despite the fact that the Cedar Valley Golf Course, Antigua, took the first one. And by the way, just to give a little plug to that tournament, we're going to have a team from Antigua actually come to Canada. That's the plan, either this August or 2020 August, and then we'll be back here again in January of next year.
Oh, that's excellent.
Excellent stuff. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we'd just like to thank Mr. Anthony Camacho, aka Angeline, for joining us on the GN Sports Show. And he's doing wonderful things with Earthquakes FC. And I must say, I must commend you for actually coming back and giving back continuously to the development of our young players. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined with our friends joining us from Football Profile 268, where we do a quick recap of the week's games, first, second, and the Premier Division. Stay tuned, we'll be back shortly.
Daddy, why can't we use the regular containers, and instead of the recycling bags, why can't we use plastic bags?
Remember this word, right? Environment. You understand? I'm going to show you why we can't use the foam or the plastic bags anymore. Because environment, the key word, the environment. Let me show you. You see this? This is the reason why we have to get rid of plastic and styrofoam. This will hurt the environment. We are a tourist destination. Everybody's supposed to use Cook's Dump. That's what they're supposed to be using. We have to embrace the change. We have to accept. I know people arguing about plastic and everything, but to protect our 365 beaches, our island, our beautiful tourist-loving Antigua Barbuda, we have to embrace the change. Please clean up. Pick up where you use up. Let's clean up. Keep Antigua and Barbuda clean. You understand what I'm saying to you, baby?
Dad, I have an idea. I'm going to do my part in protecting the environment by using recyclables and cleaning up for my sister and I.
On February 3rd, experience an orchestral night of symphonic allure as the Halo Foundation presents a symphonic friendship in partnership with Fond Degdar and the St. John's Pentecostal House of Restoration. With breathtaking musical performances by the internationally renowned musical group Forte Trio of Kazakhstan, together with the Antigua and Barbuda Youth Symphony Orchestra, promoting cultural ties between our two nations. Embrace this moment of musical art at the St. John's Pentecostal Church, House of Restoration. February 3rd, 2019, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Tickets are $90 and available at the Office of the Governor General, Government House, St. John's Pentecostal Church, House of Restoration, and Cloggy's Cafe, upstairs Antigua Yacht Club Marina in English Harbor. February 3rd, a symphony of friendship.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GN Sports Show. And as is usual at this time, we had a wonderful, wonderful young lady from Football Profile 268, Miss Georgetta Lewis, and she's going to give us a recap and a rundown from the week that was football last week. Welcome, Georgetta, to the Generation Next Sports Show. And we can jump right in.
Thank you. Good night to you. Good night to all viewers tonight. So like you said, we're just going to jump right in, give you a rundown on what went on this week. In our second division, we had Young Lions taking on Golden Grove. Golden Grove suffered a terrible loss. It was a 5-0 game.
The Young Lions scoring a lot of goals.
They are. We have Jalan Willop, Damian Brown, and Josh Joseph, who were the goal scorers in that game. Willock actually scored 2, and so did Brown. Then English Harbor took on Freeman's Village, 3-2. That game ended. Freeman's Village happened to be the losing team for that game, but they did manage to score 2. And the goal scorers are Khalid Kelban, Shamoy Rhodes. Then we had the goal scorers for English Harbor, who are Jarek George, Miko Mead, Otis Polemis. I hope I'm not, screwing up your names. If I am, my apologies. You know how that goes. And then Mahaiko took on Abaya, and Mahaiko lost to Abaya 3-0. Jadine Smith actually had a hat trick. Had a hat trick. Salute you. We always have to mention outstanding work.
Definitely.
A hat trick is not something easy to come by in a one game. So
goal scoring generally isn't
easy, right? So keep your head on, keep up the good work. Bendels is a 0-0 draw to Glanvilles, and also a draw with West Ham and Bolands 2-2.
That was a pretty good game.
It was a good game. You saw that game. Nice.
Good game.
Kerry Aaron, who scored, and Joel Martin, also the goal scorers for Bolands. West Ham had Carl Kirby, who scored in who actually scored a PK. 2 PKs. Lucky guy.
But one in extra time.
Yes. 90 plus 2.
Pulling out the stops and getting a point late in the game.
Yes, that's a good one. Pretty good. The standings in the second division.
Zone 1.
Zone 1. I could give you that really quick. We're going to do just the top 3.
Just the top 3.
All right, we have Bolins leading that group with 28 points. West Ham follow behind with 25, and we have Jennings United with 20 points. In Zone 2, we have Young Lions, who is actually leading with 28 points. Blue Jays, they're with 25, and Real Blizzard with 18 points.
So that was the second division?
Yes.
Second division games?
Yes.
First division games for the week?
We have John Hughes, who played CV Farm. That game ended in a 0-0 draw. Lion Hill FC won that game 3-0 to Hilltop. Adrian Walsh and Karen Kennedy Prince are the goal scorers for Lion Hill. The games from yesterday were cancelled, and most people know that we suffered the loss of a very brilliant coach, phenomenon. I mean, I think he loved the game and the game loved him.
So yesterday we paid respect
to him.
To Mr. St. Clair and Nashi Christian. So a lot of games, the games that were scheduled for the first division were also cancelled because yesterday was Nashi's funeral. Condolences to the family of Nashi Christian. He was an excellent person, an excellent football icon, and he's surely going to be missed.
Very much so.
So let's talk about the Premier Division. Or
Premier,
the standings.
we could do the
Standings for
the first division.
Top 3 in the first division.
Yes. The top 3, we have All Saints United with 27 points.
Good friend Cheyenne doing some good work.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. I actually lost my favorite and one of my best players. Guys, you all are really good, and I have a lot of best players, but you know how it is. He is one of the fighters. Even though he's small, he's a force to be reckoned with. He asked for the transfer. You know how we coaches go. It's hard, but you know we don't deprive them, right? So he's there. So you know, good luck to you guys. Good luck to him. You keep up the good work. Ireland original John Hughes FC. They're following. Pretty much like they're tying with 27 points behind, you know, due to goal average and stuff like that.
And I think they've played a game more than us.
More than, right, but 27 points. And then we have Fitzroy Rewind Pickett's Bullets with 22 points. So those are the top 3 teams for the first division.
And we move on to the big one.
Yes, to the most exciting league maybe of the Caribbean.
It is exciting.
Very much so.
It is exciting. There's a logjam at the top, and we have some highlights. So that was the first game on the weekend.
Yes.
And that was SAP causing a huge upset.
And they were taking on the defending champions.
And they came out on top. 2 goals to 1.
With a 2-goal.
And the evergreen Peter Byers from the penalty spot. And then this pocket rocket that came off the bench for SAP.
Some cards were shared in that game too that didn't really work out in Hopper's favor, but you know, that's the game of football. You take it with the good and you have to take it with the bad.
The second game would have been Liberta against Villa.
Yes.
Villa struggling a little bit and Liberta pulling out.
I wouldn't exactly say a little bit, but they are struggling.
So Liberta pulling out.
And Liberta happened to be keeping in good form.
So that was, as we saw in the highlight, that was a headed goal from Mr. Clarence Marsh, who is putting in a good shift for Liberta at the minute, and I think they won that game 1-0.
Yes, they did.
And then on Sunday,
it seemed to have been a very physical game. Some cards was given out in that game also.
The games on Sunday. The first game was Sweets against.
The first game, Sweets against Grenades.
Sweets against Grenades. And
it was a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. A 1-1 draw.
Yes.
Those of you who've been around know I'm actually coaching Sweets at the minute. So we managed to get a point out of the game in injury time, which is really funny because I think in the reverse fixture in the first round, it was the other way around.
The other way around.
It was Jennings.
That's football. That's football.
Pulling out.
But it happened to work out in your favor this time.
And I'm grateful. So we kept pace, and we got so many chances.
Nice.
We got so many chances.
And the goal scorers, you know, we'll mention them. In Sweets, we had Zeno Solomon, who is actually the second highest goal scorer for this season thus far. Behind Mr. Eugene Kerwin from our champions, Hoppers. And from Grenades, we had Cleon Colley, who's actually making his name because week after week, his name is being mentioned.
Good performances.
Yes.
So the second game on Sunday?
We have Parham against Triumph, versus Triumph. And Parham won that game. Parham has always been a team with the fight. They suffered a little, you know, they've been fluctuating. They're not as consistent.
This season they
but they managed to pull through and they had a
2-0 win.
2-0 win over Triumph. Yes.
And then
we had Five Islands versus Old Road. That was my most favorite game to watch.
That was a good game over the weekend.
Yes.
And I am not so sure I can say it's an upset because
no,
Old Road has been playing
good football.
Good football. Both teams.
So have Five Islands.
And the irony is Five Islands would have kind of hit a rough patch.
Yes. Yes.
And so I think this is like the third game on the bounce that they've dropped.
Yes.
So, you know, it's touch and go. I'm not so sure it was an upset, but kudos to Old Road.
Old Road, they managed to pull the 3 points out to that game.
A 1-0 victory.
1-0, yes.
Excellent. So the standings right now in the Premier Division. It's sticky at the top.
It's extremely.
And I enjoy that because every game now has to be treated as a cup final.
It has to.
Every game has to be treated as a cup final.
Well, off the back, the top 3 teams are tied with 20 points. We have Sandals INET Grenades FC with 20 points at the top. Then we have Cool and Smooth Global Bank of Commerce, AC Delca Green Bay Hoppers with 20 points. PIC Liberta Black Hawks, 20 points, who is actually doing very well for, you know, being just fresh in the Premier. Then we have following behind closely Wadadley Event Services, Oyster, Veg International, Sweets FC. My friend over here on my right. Kudos to you in the 4th place. You know, hang in, keep your head on, keep working up. You know, we supporting. With 19 points, we have Parham FC with 17, and Richie Rich Five Islands FC is also on 17 points. Draws KFC Old Road FC with 16, just 1 point below. So that means, you know, anything could happen at any time.
With the top 7 as a matter of fact.
Right, really. And then Triumph in 8th position with 12 points. Then we have SAP FC in 9th with 9 points. And in 10th, we have FC Ashton Villa with 5 points.
So Villa is struggling at the minute. You got to make a run, fellas. You got to make a run. If you want to stay in the big dance, you got to make a run. The funny thing is, I see SAP steadily improving every week. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say SAP is going to cause some people some problems. The only good thing about it, I've played them already for the second round.
So you don't have to worry about it.
I'm not worried because SAP traditionally is a second round team.
Yes, they normally come back hard
in the second round. So kudos to my friends at SAP. Continue doing your work.
Yes.
Make things
keep fighting.
Interesting at the top.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what else is there to say? That was a recap of the week's activity, the week that was in football. We'd like to thank the lovely Miss Georgetta Lewis for joining us in the studios. I want to say goodnight to my good friend Astel. Oh, and before I forget, my little cousin tunes in the show every evening, every Thursday. And I want to say goodnight to Malik there in Seaview Farm. I didn't forget. Your grandma told me to make sure that I say goodnight to you. So goodnight to Malik.
Could we mention our breakfast also?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes. Just before we go, I would like to ask for the support from everyone here in Antigua. Us Football Profile 268, the team, we have put together a fundraiser where we will be having a breakfast on a Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday is the 9th of February, starting from 7 a.m. to 11. From 7 a.m. to 11, Judgment Square. Tickets are only $10. You can't beat that. $10. Chop up, saltfish, name it.
It works.
We have it. And you get you a cup of bush tea. $10. Show us some support. It's just in aid to, you know, help us with what we do. And, you know, we really do appreciate the work and the support. And if you guys could support us with that, we'll just continue to do what we do for football.
Excellent stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to go out on the 9th, you said? 9th
Yes,
of February.
the 9th of February.
Support Football Profile 268.
Breakfast.
Breakfast fundraiser. Again, Georgette, I would like to thank you for joining us and giving us a recap of what happened in football. And we look forward to, as you noticed from the scores, it's crazy.
Crazy.
The Premier Division.
It is exciting.
It's exciting.
Yes.
It's tight. Join us on the weekend. Watch some football. It's going to be like a cup final for every single team. Anything can happen in the top 7. So I want to thank you guys again from Football Profile 268 for providing us with that information and keeping the general public abreast in what is going on. Ladies and gentlemen, quick break. When we come back, we are going to have our resident doctor, Dr. Rick Millis, who's going to continue our discussion, our sports wellness discussion, supplementing and all that good stuff. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a little bit.
On February 3rd, experience an orchestral night of symphonic allure as the Halo Foundation presents A Symphonic Friendship in partnership with Fond Degdar and the St. John's Pentecostal House of Restoration. With breathtaking musical performances by the internationally renowned musical group Forte Trio of Kazakhstan, together with the Antigua and Barbuda Youth Symphony Orchestra, promoting cultural ties between our two nations. Embrace this moment of musical art at the St. John's Pentecostal Church, House of Restoration. February 3rd, 2019, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Tickets are $90 and available at the Office of the Governor General, Government House, St. John's Pentecostal Church, House of Restoration, and Cloggy's Cafe, upstairs Antigua Yacht Club Marina in English Harbor. February 3rd, a symphony of friendship.
Make sure you arrive at the right destination each morning. Get on the gospel train with Lance and Kenneth. Great music and inspiration and lots of positive energy. Tune in every weekday morning from 5 to 6 a.m. only on ABS Radio and TV, The Gospel Train.
Every weekday, 9 to 10 a.m., join me for Life with Natalie on ABS Radio 90.5 FM. Life, let's claim it.
Hey there, I'm a dengue mousy. We look for containers of water where we can lay our eggs. Close to your house, we love to suck your blood and bite your legs. We don't live in swamps or rivers. We live in your house day and night. We'll give you dengue fever when we give you a great big bite. We hate it when you spray. It's insect repellent we fear. Throw out that water. We're out of here.
Here it is. In case of an earthquake and the place not shaking.
Drop, cover, and hold on.
Drop, cover, and hold on. In case of an earthquake.
There's a few tips that can keep you from harm. In case of an earthquake, you gotta stay calm. Move away from doors, windows, and things that can fall. Try not to use steps or elevators at all.
Drop, protect your head on your face. Don't go running all over the place.
Cover,
under a bed or a table. Against a wall that's firm and stable.
Hold on.
You must hold on. Don't panic. Stay calm.
Don't move until the shaking stops.
Here it is.
Drop, cover, and hold on.
Drop, cover, and hold on. In case of an earthquake.
Drop, cover, and hold on.
Learn how to protect yourself during an earthquake. Log on to weready.org. That's weready.org for more information.
When it comes to your health, there are many options, but which do you choose? Your choice is going to be determined largely by your view on what being healthy really is. We at AUA place a high degree of importance on health and education, so we've created this program to provide you with solid information that would facilitate your decisions regarding your health. Join us for AUA's Healthy Perspectives, hosted by Vernon Solomon of the American University of Antigua.
Well, welcome back to the GN Sports Show. And in this section, of course, is from a parent's perspective, where we interview parents as to their take on supporting their children in their sporting discipline, whichever sporting discipline that may be, and how important it is that they participate in terms of not only getting them to and from the games, but also to be there to be cheerleaders at the side. And we should have on the phone with us Roberta Byron. Roberta, are you on the phone?
Sam, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Roberta, and welcome to the GN Sports Show. Our listening audience and our viewing audience, as a matter of transparency, Roberta happens to be my cousin. Anyway, welcome to the GN Sports Show, Roberta.
Thank you.
Yes, and we were just talking about how important it is for the support of the children in whatever sporting discipline that they may be partaking in, that the parents not only go to the matches or the games and support them, but also try and encourage them off the field also too. And how challenging it is for you as a parent to do that.
Right. Yes, that's it. It is very challenging, especially because we live on the outside of Antigua. I mean, sorry, not the outside, the outskirts. We're over on Jolly Harbour side, so with having a job 9 to 5, and then having to get her to football practice, and then getting home in time for homework and dinner and all of that, it is quite challenging, but it's what we have to do as parents, especially if our child is very much into the sport, which my daughter seems to have dropped out of dancing, as you know. It's something I was passionate about, but she went into football, which is what her father used to do. So she has become a big football fanatic. And as you said, we have to support them. So it's something that I've had to give up my dreams as her being a dancer to be a footballer. And if it means to give up my liming time to support her in this, it is what I do.
And one of the reasons why we asked you to be here, because you've not only supported her in her endeavors in whatever activities she may have partaken, but even when her friends were playing in the football, for instance, the football leagues, that you were always there at the side taking photos and so forth, and how important that is. Because I think we have a culture here in Antigua where in the younger age groups, like let's say going up to from under 6 to about under 11, the parents are fully supportive of the youngsters, but from the time they pass their older ages, they seem to just drop off and leave. And what are your thoughts on that?
As I said, I do agree with you in a sense, but in another sense, I take it that they have some parents who are working, some this day and age, you know, back in our day, parents didn't really work on a Saturday and so on, but today they do, unfortunately. But me being one of these people, I'm one of the people that say Saturday is for my child. It is not, you know, I told my bosses that that's a time that I have to have for my child. But I agree that some parents could make the effort to come out. There's some of them who take this for themselves rather than for their children, and who am I to point fingers? But, you know, we all have our different decisions on what we want to do.
And one of the things, like for instance, your daughter Jordan had made the national, I think it was the under 15 female team for Antigua when she went to Florida to play in a tournament, and she was representing Antigua, of course. And I think a lot of it has to do with support behind the scenes from parents. And don't wait until they achieve that goal. And Jordan actually reached made that achievement in a very short time span, because she only started actually playing football about a year ago.
Right, but as you know, I keep going back to our day because I believe in how our parents brought us up. Back in our day, once you did make a decision that you're doing something, you have to stick with it. So when Jordan decided that she wanted to do the football, I made sure that she understood that it is 3 days a week. You have to go to each practice. When you get in an argument with someone, if you get upset with the coach, you still have to make sure you go to that practice. Don't come and tell me, oh, you didn't like how something went and you're not going to the next practice, because that's not how we were brought up. When you did make a decision, you're doing something, you stick to it.
Yeah, and you know, that is very important, and it's very important that you talk to these youngsters and so forth behind the scenes when the matches are not being played, when they're on the downtime at home. So I know it's very challenging for parents. I do agree with you in terms of the workload, and parents have it challenging. But I do believe that they can make more of an effort to support their kids. I've been advocating that for years now, that I would love to see more crowd support, particularly for the older age groups. And I'm glad to see that you're on a similar page, even though I think you're trying to make it a little bit of an excuse for them that with their work. I still think they can make more of an effort.
As you said, when the children were younger, they were able to do it then.
Right.
So why not while they're older, you know? And I think as teenagers is when they need more support, you know, because that's when you get confused as to, is it liming or is it what I want, you know, in the sport that I choose to do?
Yes. And regardless of what sporting discipline that they do choose, I think it's very important that they have proper time management between their schoolwork and sporting disciplines. Like I normally have a lot of disagreement with parents when the child is not doing as well as they hope that the child is supposed to be doing in the academics, and they take away sports. I'm in total disagreement with that. I would say take away the going to the movies, the iPad, the phones, the television, but leave the sports alone, because I personally believe the sports are intertwined with education. And what are your thoughts on that?
And I agree with you. I do agree that they should not take away the sporting side of things. I mean, back to when she was doing her dancing, as her father used to always say, take away the dancing, because that's what she was passionate about. But to me, as you said, it teaches time management. It gives them discipline in what they're doing. It's something that whether they want to do it or not on that day, they have to do it because that's something they signed up for. So I agree with you. Take away the iPad and the TV time and the friend time and put more into the sport.
Okay, then Roberta, we want to thank you for appearing on our GN Sports Show. And of course, we wish Jordan all the best in her endeavors in football and academics. And I don't know, she just participated in the combine that we held here, but she was a little young to get any rewards whereby that is. But I'm sure she gained a lot of experience. And when we do it again later on this year, I'm hoping that she'll be considered for one of the scholarships. Thank you, Roberta.
And thank you for having me.
Okay, on that note, we'll take a short break, and we'll be back with sports, health, and wellness with our doctor in the house, Dr. Rick Millis of American University of Antigua, School of Medicine.
Make sure you arrive at the right destination each morning. Get on the gospel train with Lance and Kenneth. Great music and inspiration and lots of positive energy. Tune in every weekday morning from 5 to 6 a.m. only on ABS Radio and TV, The Gospel Train.
Every weekday, 9 to 10 a.m., join me for Life with Natalie on ABS Radio 90.5 FM. Life, let's claim it.
Women, get to know your bodies. Every day, we all become exposed to different viruses and diseases. One of these viruses is the human papillomavirus, or HPV. HPV infection can cause cervical cancer and warts. Cervical cancer is preventable. Get tested by your doctor or at your health center. and ask about the HPV vaccine. Join the fight against cervical cancer. Together we can beat it. This is a message by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment of Antigua and Barbuda and its health partners.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We'd like to welcome Dr. Rick, no stranger to us here on the GN Sports Show. And
a little strange, but no stranger, maybe.
Sports, health, and wellness with Dr. Rick Millis. Those of you who've joined us for the last couple of shows would have been in on our discussion on creatine. And so we had a quick chat, and so we're going to segue a little bit from supplementing, and we're going to look at strength training, weight training, benefits, drawbacks, all that good stuff. And we're going to have Dr. Rick fill us in on all that is affiliated, well, some, and I'm pretty sure we'll continue into next week.
Well, we're going to work together. We're going to work together as a team, because you know a lot about it too, right? A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
So we are going to work as a team.
Definitely.
So we talked last week about creatine. And I don't know if we said, there's several creatines on the market. It seems like the best one is called creatine monohydrate.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that when we were wrapping up.
Okay, yes. Creatine monohydrate. So remember what creatine does. It helps build muscle, strengthen muscle, makes muscles bigger, gives you some definition. And the question is, can you get stronger just by taking creatine, right? That's what Ricky wants to know, because Ricky doesn't want to really do a lot of exercise, right?
But he wants to get strong.
But he wants to get strong and look buff, right?
What they trying, Doc? I can't look buffer than I was.
That's true. That's true.
I don't do like Zico and take in his clothes to make himself look buff. I just look naturally buff. And this little bulge I have in the
it's all muscle.
Area.
I suppose it's muscle, right?
It's just dormant muscle.
All right, okay, got it.
Just dormant muscle. That's all it is.
If you say so.
So that brings up the question of taking creatine. What will it do? Well, it'll maintain your strength, but it won't increase your strength. And the key to strength training is to increase the muscle and decrease the fat, especially the subcutaneous fat.
Sounds pretty simple, right?
Just explain to all of us here, like myself, what is this sub what?
Underneath the skin. There's a layer of fat underneath your skin.
Right.
And if you can pinch more than an inch, you've got too much, man.
You've got too much.
You got too much.
So that's the rule of thumb. If you can pinch
more than an inch,
then maybe you should do some work.
Yeah, I'm American, so I don't deal with the metric system, but that would be 2.54 centimeters.
I'm checking it out.
Or 25.4 millimeters.
I'm checking it out. See, I can pinch about 2 inches.
Anyway. From that dormant muscle.
From the dormant muscle.
From the dormant muscle. So the idea is that if we have too much subcutaneous fat and we start doing strength training, will we just build the muscle, and what will happen to the fat? Well, when you build the muscle, the fat goes away. But when you build it, you have to build it in the right way. And strength training allows you to do that. Now, why do people shy away from strength training? Because it's difficult.
It is.
To do it properly, it's difficult. You have to be very mindful of what you're doing. Otherwise, you use too much weight, you can injure your muscles, especially when you just give kids weights and have them play around with it. They can injure themselves and damage their muscles. So you don't want to do that. And being mindful means being aware of what you're trying to train. Because there's a way to train, let's say, your body in general, just to get rid of the subcutaneous fat and just generally look better. That's general strength training. But then athletes want to train specific groups of muscles or specific muscles.
Depending on the sport and discipline.
Well, the sport and the discipline, or just like a weightlifter wants to, train every single muscle. So he gets that great definition on every muscle. And no matter what the lifting is, the weightlifting he's doing, he'll be able to accomplish that. And so that requires really being very mindful of isolating muscles. So what do we mean by that? Well, when you're generally trying to do strength training and make yourself just look better and just be more fit, you generally train one day on the upper muscles, your arms, your back, your neck, and the next day or another day you devote to the lower muscles, right? Now what about the abs? Well, when you're generally training not for a particular sport or not for isolating muscles, you can incorporate abdominal muscles into both the upper and the lower, either one. But generally you don't do it on the same day. You rest. Why do you rest? Well, first of all, there's muscle soreness associated with resistance training.
Especially when you start.
Right, and the other name for strength training is resistance training, using weights. So there's soreness, especially when you start. But even experienced weightlifters, their muscles get sore. And what do we do about it? Well, one of the ways to combat the soreness is on an alternate day, the next day, you do some endurance exercise, some aerobic exercise. The old school of thought used to be that you had to do aerobic exercise to get the benefit of the strength training to reduce the body fat, that the strength training by itself didn't reduce the body fat. But you know what the new research shows? You don't have to really do
So the more strength
endurance training.
The more strength training you do, essentially,
the less fat
you're going to have.
You're going to have. It's going to help melt away the fat without the aerobic. But with the aerobic exercise, now what do we mean by aerobic exercise? Does everybody understand that? Then that's your treadmill. That's your running. That's your bicycling. Running, bicycling, treadmill. Those are the easiest exercises to do. That's why people gravitate toward them.
But to actually get the aerobic benefit, there has to be a timing and there has to be a length of time involved in that.
Exactly.
Training. So the school of thought is 15 to 20 minutes and then you're actually going to have that benefit of aerobic training, correct?
Exactly. But it used to be thought, as I told you, that the strength training, the resistance training with the weights, had to incorporate aerobic training to get the benefit of losing the fat, and we now know that's really not true. And in fact, a study has shown recently that if you eliminate the aerobic training, the treadmill, the running, the bicycling, and you just do the resistance training, you'll actually lose more body fat without the aerobic training, which is counterintuitive to what we've already believed.
That goes against what has predominantly been the school of thought for many, many years.
Exactly.
But did they do studies of the aerobics with the strength training before? I know they have reversed that decision.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's I think only 1 or 2 studies, so it's not dogma yet. It's not the Bible yet, but that's where we're going with that. So you don't really need it. But what do you need, or what is the aerobic treadmill, running, bicycling good for? Well, it also helps with the soreness. It gets rid of the lactic acid.
Because oxygen actually replaces that lactic acid.
That's right. Displaces it. So the lactic acid. You can also do massage. You can get a muscle roller, just like a rolling pin. You can actually use a rolling pin from your kitchen.
You can use a regular rolling pin.
Rolling pin and roll out your muscles.
Works just as well.
Exactly. And it helps get rid of the lactic acid that builds up in muscles during exercise. But again, the aerobic training. Now, what's the best aerobic training? Who knows that? The answer to that.
Swimming.
Maybe we should ask the audience.
Swimming.
You think so?
I would say running.
I would go down a limb and say swimming for the simple reason.
Okay,
when you're actually swimming, you're using your entire body. Running generally isolates the legs. You're using the larger muscles in the body, whereas swimming, you're incorporating upper.
So it's a little bit of a trick question because I didn't give you the parameters. So let's say you were to use a machine. Let's say you would use a machine for your aerobic training. It starts with an E, elliptical.
Yeah, because that incorporates upper and lower as well.
That's correct. And it's also low impact. So you don't damage the joints
For me, when you get to
as
my
much.
age, you know, you got to take some pressure off your
When I get to your age?
No, generally, not you personally. Your way, the ship already sailed, Ricky. But generally.
I was wondering what you're saying there.
To be honestly, personally, I've used the elliptical more than the treadmill because, you know, the general muscle soreness, but also soreness in my knees and my ankles. And so the elliptical is excellent in terms of aerobic training. I'm not a huge fan of aerobic training, though. I like strength training. But while we're talking about strength training, and especially since our program usually focuses on young athletes, at what age would you recommend that strength training begin for young athletes?
Yeah, well, young athletes, when they become adolescents, 11, 12 years old, it's okay. I mean, you can probably do it earlier, but you really need good coaching to make sure that the children are more mindful, can concentrate, know really what they're doing. So I would say, you know, older child that's, you know, 11, 12 years old, when they're starting to become adolescents, go into puberty, that's when you're going to get the most benefit. Because in males, of course, that's when the sex hormones that build the muscle start being made more. And women too.
The testosterone
and women
will be
too.
elevated as well.
Yeah, and the girls too. The girls get more of the male sex hormone, which helps build their muscles, and they get more estrogen going on. And so, yes, it goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand.
But also when they have the growing, what I call the growing pains, when the joints are growing.
Yes.
And then it's not good for them to do the strength training then.
That's correct, because it exacerbates the problem with the joints, and you have to back off it a little bit because they'll have inflammation, and actually they'll not enjoy it as much. So you also want to get children accustomed to enjoying the strength training as much as they can, you know, so they'll want to continue to do it. So with the key to strength training, we haven't really even mentioned. So we're just getting into understanding strength training.
Just
you know what the key is?
No, you tell us.
Incremental changes in the weights. Incremental changes. So when you start out, if you start out with too heavy a weight, it's not going to do any good. Could damage the muscles, but you're not going to gradually increase the strength. So how do you do this incremental change that's going to allow somebody to really, really get the most benefit out of their strength training? You start by determining how strong you are.
Your 1 rep max.
There you go. Oh my God, you're right on target. What does that mean?
I paid attention in my physical education classes at university. So shout out to my professors at John Brown University, as well as the good folks at University of South Carolina. I actually paid attention. So I remembered something, Ricky. It was a long time ago, but at least I remembered.
It's still in the memory box.
So what he did is he used what we call the 1 RM load, the 1 repetition max load, to determine his strength. Now you have to do that with every muscle group, because there is no such thing as general strength when you're doing testing like this. But of course, if you average out all your 1 RM load lifts, you can get some sort of general idea as to how strong you are. But it's per muscle. So if I wanted to know how strong your biceps are compared to his biceps, we would give you a weight, and we would incrementally increase the weight till you can only move it 1 time, like this.
Can do 1 repetition.
Your biceps. This is what you're using your biceps for, this curl. Right? So if I can go, and I can only do it 1 time.
That's your 1
rep. All right? That tells you how strong you are. So let's say I can only do 1 repetition with 80 pounds. So that 80 pounds defines the strength of that muscle. that means I have 80 pounds of muscle strength there.
So what do you say?
80 pounds of force is being exerted to raise that weight one time. Now, if I can do it 2 times, that's not determining my strength. If I can do it 10 times, I got to go higher. If I can do that 2 times, I got to go to 85 or 90 to determine what that 1 repetition max load is. And now I can compare your biceps. In fact, you can compare your right biceps to your left biceps by doing that.
And people will be amazed at the difference.
Yes.
It's the same muscle group, but people will be amazed at the difference.
Right,
Dr.
because the dominance, there's one side of your body that's dominant.
Yeah.
If you're right-handed, chances are
your right side is dominant.
It's, of course,
I think
stronger muscles.
I think while we're on one rep max, I think that is an excellent place for us to start our discussion next week. Because unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what happens when you're having a good time. Time flies. And unfortunately, we're at the end of another edition of the GN Sports Show. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. We'd also like to thank all our guests for joining us and making this show a success today. Stay tuned next week. As we mentioned with Dr. Rick, we're going to start looking at strength training in depth. We got to the 1 rep max and how does that correlate to planning your strength training program. Before we leave, however, we'd just like to give a massive shout out to Team Island Girls. Fantastic effort, ladies.
And we should be having them here next Thursday.
And yes, we got a treat for you. Tentatively, we've booked them for the show next Thursday. So be sure to join us on the GN Sports Show. We'll have hopefully more than a quick chat with these wonderful ladies, and they'll give us an idea.
Brave ladies.
Fantastic effort. I don't know, you have to be a special person, a special place to decide, you know what, I'm going to wake up and we're going to row across the Atlantic. So we want to give the ladies a massive shout out. Kudos to you, ladies. And so we look forward to you joining us in the studio next week. Again, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately we have to go. This has brought us to the end of another edition of the GN Sports Show. I'd like to thank our sponsors. I'd like to thank our cameraman, our wonderful producer, the lovely Miss Shannon. And we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Thank you again for joining us.